You've been trying to build something that already exists. That's the part nobody tells you. You've been treating your desired life like a construction project, like it has to be assembled, brick by brick, out of effort and time and luck you don't have yet. And so every day you don't have it feels like proof that you haven't built enough. But what if it was never a construction problem? What if the thing you're reaching for already exists in complete form? And the only real question is not how to build it, but how to reach it. Stay with me, because this reframe changes what you do tomorrow morning. Let's start where you actually are. There is a version of your life that you can see clearly. You can picture the room you'd wake up in. You know how you'd carry yourself. You know what your shoulders would feel like walking into a room without that low hum of not enough. That version is vivid to you, vivid enough that its absence is painful. And here's the strange thing about that vividness. You cannot picture, in detail, something that has no reality at all. Your mind does not generate coherent, stable, emotionally loaded images out of pure nothing. When you see that version of yourself, you are not inventing, you are perceiving something. The Hermetic tradition gave this a name long before anyone had the vocabulary of physics. The Kybalion, published anonymously in 1908 by 3 authors who called themselves the 3 Initiates, opens with the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. Everything that exists in form existed first as thought, not as a nice idea, as the actual sequence. Which means the version of you that you keep glimpsing isn't a fantasy waiting to be built. It's a reality waiting to be occupied. Now, I want to give you the mechanism, because it already exists. Without a mechanism is just a comforting sentence. Think about how a radio works. Every station broadcasting in your city is present in the room you're sitting in right now, all of them, simultaneously. The music is in the air. The receiver does not create the station. It doesn't build it, earn it, or deserve it. It tunes, and out of everything present, one signal resolves into sound. You have never once thought the station didn't exist because your radio was set elsewhere. This is the shift I'm asking you to make. You are not a builder, you are a receiver. And the reason the life you can picture hasn't arrived is not that you haven't constructed enough of it. It's that you're tuned to a different frequency and receiving, faithfully, exactly what that frequency broadcasts. If that landed, if something in you just went quiet, subscribe before we go further. This channel exists for exactly this moment, when the effort stops making sense and you start suspecting the whole model was wrong. What's coming next is the part that actually changes things. Let me show you what this looks like in a life, because the theory is easy and the recognition is what matters. 2 people apply for the same position. Their resumes are close to identical. Same years, same field, comparable work. If you laid the 2 documents side by side, you would struggle to choose. The first one prepares by rehearsing what could go wrong. He anticipates the hard question. He drafts a defense for the gap in his history. He arrives 15 minutes early and sits in the car running the scenario, and by the time he walks in, his system has already been through the interview 4 times and lost 3 of them. In the room, he is competent, he answers well. But there's a quality to how he speaks, a fractional hesitation before each answer, a habit of finishing sentences with a slight upward lilt, as though checking whether that was acceptable. When they ask what he'd do in the role, he answers modestly, because overclaiming from someone who isn't sure he belongs would be embarrassing. The second one prepares differently, not with more research, with less rehearsal. She spends the drive listening to something that puts her in a good mood and walks in from a settled place. When they ask a hard question, she takes an actual pause before answering, and the pause reads as consideration rather than panic. When they ask what she'd do in the role, she tells them plainly, because she's already imagined herself doing it, and it isn't a hypothetical to her. She gets it. And afterwards he says what people always say. They must have wanted someone with more experience, but they didn't. The experience was the same. What differed was the frequency each of them carried through the door, and everything downstream of that. The pauses, the lilt, the claim. Neither of them built anything that day. Both of them tuned, and one of them tuned to a station where the job was available. Here's the second one, and it's quieter. Watch what happens around someone who is genuinely settled. You've met this person, not the loudest person at the table, not the most impressive on paper, but there's a particular ease to them, and something happens in the room they're in. Conversations near them get more honest. People say the true thing instead of the smooth thing. Someone mentions the idea they've been sitting on for 2 years and mentions it casually because the environment made it feel less exposed. A connection gets made that neither person planned. Now ask what that person actually did. Usually, very little. They asked one good question. They didn't fill a silence. They didn't perform. But their state changed the field. And here is what almost nobody notices. The opportunities that surface around a person like that are not being generated for them. They were already in that room. They were in every room. What changed is that a coherent, unguarded presence made it safe for them to surface. This is where love enters this teaching, and I don't mean it sentimentally. What that person is broadcasting is a form of love, a nervous system that isn't defended, isn't extracting, isn't scanning you for threat. And abundance follows that state, not as a reward, but as a consequence, because people bring their real ideas, their real openings, their real selves to a frequency that feels safe. You've been trying to earn abundance. It's closer to say that abundance is what gathers around a certain kind of presence. Let me take this further, because there's a version of this idea that's more radical still. Daryl Anker has been channeling an entity called Bashar since 1984, and whatever you make of the source, the framework is worth hearing precisely. It holds that at every moment, you are not moving through one continuous reality. You are shifting between parallel versions of reality, billions of times a second. And the you that persists is simply the one that keeps selecting a similar version each time. Under that model, there is no timeline where you're stuck. There are only versions you keep selecting, and you don't select with your goals, you select with your state. Neville Goddard, who taught in New York and Los Angeles through the middle of the last century, gave the practical instruction for this in a phrase he used constantly: live in the end. Not visualize the end, not hope for it. Occupy it, assume the internal state of the version who already has it, and live from there before a single piece of outside evidence justifies the assumption. Most people invert this. They wait for the evidence to give them permission to feel the state. But the state is the tuning. Waiting for evidence to change your state is waiting for the radio to play the station before you turn the dial. I want you to do something in the comments, and be specific. Describe the version of you that already has it, in one sentence, in the present tense, as though you're describing someone real. Not, I want to be secure. That's the old station. Write it as them. He doesn't flinch when the bill comes. She takes the meeting without rehearsing. Write it, then read a few others. There's something in seeing 40 strangers describe the same quiet, undramatic freedom. It stops feeling like fantasy and starts feeling like a place people are actually standing. Here's the third one, and it's the one you can test tomorrow. 2 versions of the same morning. In the first, you wake and reach for the phone before your eyes have fully opened. Within 90 seconds, you have absorbed 3 items of news designed to alarm you. 1 message that needs a response you don't want to write, and a scroll through other people's edited lives. Your nervous system has now been handed its frequency for the day by strangers, and it took 1.5 minutes. By 9, you're behind. By 11, a small setback feels disproportionate. By 2, you're short with someone who didn't deserve it. By evening, you conclude it was a bad day, caused by events. It wasn't. It was a tuning, set before you were conscious, and then a day faithfully received on that setting. In the second version, you wake and don't reach. You give yourself 4 minutes, not a ritual, not a practice, just 4 minutes of not being told who to be. You find the settled feeling, the one from a good day, and you sit in it until your body actually shifts. Then you pick up the phone. The same 3 news items arrive. The same message needs answering, and they land differently, not because you're pretending they're fine, but because they're arriving into a system that isn't already braced. By 11, the setback is a setback rather than evidence. By 2, you have the patience. By evening, you've had what you'd call a good day, and you'd probably credit the circumstances. Same day, same events, 2 stations. This is why the morning matters more than any technique. It isn't discipline, it's the moment the dial gets set, and almost everyone lets someone else set it. Now, here's the part that explains why this has failed for you before, if it has. You've done a version of this. You've had the inspired morning. You've felt the shift, genuinely, and thought this is it, this is different. And by Thursday, you were back exactly where you started, and you concluded it doesn't work for you. It works, but nobody told you about the reset. The dial does not hold on its own. Your old identity has decades of practice holding it in place, and it will reclaim it, not dramatically, just quietly, through 100 ordinary moments. The email that lands wrong, the number on the account, the person whose life looks easier. Each of those is a small hand on the dial, turning it back a fraction, and none of them announce themselves. So by mid-afternoon, you're broadcasting the old station again, and you don't know when it happened, because there was no moment. There was only drift. This is where almost everyone gives up, and it's the wrong place to give up, because the drift is not failure. The drift is the entire practice. The work was never the inspired morning. The work is the 20 times a day you notice you've drifted and, without any self-attack, come back. Think of what happens when you learn to steer a car. You don't hold the wheel straight. You are constantly making small corrections. So constantly that after a while, you stop noticing you're doing it. A driver who insisted the wheel should stay still would conclude that driving doesn't work. Reality is the same. You will drift 100 times today. That is not evidence of failure. That is what it feels like to be a consciousness, in a body, in a world with weather in it. The only question is how quickly you notice and how gently you return. And here's the mercy in it. Every return is easier than the last. Not because you're becoming more disciplined, but because a frequency you keep coming back to slowly stops being somewhere you visit and becomes somewhere you live. At some point, you stop returning to it and simply notice one ordinary Tuesday that you never left. The honest caveat, because this teaching is easy to turn into an escape, occupying that state does not replace living your life. It changes how you live it. From the tuned state, you take different action, cleaner, less fear-soaked, more consistent, because it flows out of identity instead of being forced against resistance. You still make the call, you still do the work. The difference is that the work stops being a plea and becomes an expression. Anyone telling you to sit still and vibrate is selling you an exit. This is not an exit, it's a relocation. And one more thing, which is the part I most want you to keep. You are not behind. The version of you that has it is not ahead of you in time, waiting at the end of a long climb. It is adjacent to you, one setting away, available on any morning you choose it, before the world tells you who to be, which means the question is never how far you have to go. It's only ever, what am I tuned to right now, and am I willing to change it before anything outside gives me permission? If this is the frequency you're choosing, subscribe and turn on the bell. Everything on this channel is built to hold the next piece. The kingdom is within. It always was. You just have to stop building and start receiving.